This is a story for my dad. A couple of years ago, I was going through kind of a rough time, feeling down in the dumps, and I got this unexpected invitation from this guy I knew named Sam to go hang gliding. Now, at the time, I was living in Louisiana, but I had spent the summer house sitting in Washington, D.C., and I didn't really know anybody up there. Sam was a regular at this restaurant where I was picking up some waitressing shifts, and really just an acquaintance. But this was a chance to go hang gliding, so I was totally into it. And he told me the plan was to meet a group of his friends out at this farm near Annapolis, where a miniature aircraft called a foot plane would tow the glider 1 mile into the air and then cut the tether. So a novice like myself could ride tandem with an instructor suspended from my belly, so I would be in control during the glide, but he could take over in case anything went wrong. But what could go wrong? So we set out at sunrise and drove 2 hours out to this farm in the middle of nowhere, where we met Sam's friends. But very shortly after we arrived, I began to realize there was something strange about Sam's friends. First of all, he didn't know any of them. And none of them seemed to know each other. And then somebody clued me in that this was a meetup event. Y'all familiar with these kinds of things? So a meetup event is when you don't really know anybody in town. You can go online and find pretend friends to go do stuff with. It's great. And so a lot of times they're organized around specific interests. I Googled a bit to find out what's happening in the Philadelphia meetup scene, and you can go hang out with enthusiasts of the Kabbalah or pug owners. My husband does something called pickleball, whatever the hell that is, I don't know. But why not? It's great. You can use the internet to meet people, have new experiences instead of staring at your laptop in solitude. In theory, I love this idea. But I think that if you actually show up at one of these things, you will find that hanging out with your pretend friends is a far cry from actual friendship. What is it about your actual friends? You know what I mean? When you have a good group of friends, you want to go do something cool, you round up the usual suspects. You know, man, your tribe. Flawed people, probably very different people, but the point is, when you are together, there's a relaxed warmth that is born of months and years of a slow, willing movement toward each other that you cannot replicate with your automatically generated internet pretend group of friends. It is stressful to hang out at these things where everybody's kind of sizing each other up and trying to impress and repeatedly emphasizing how much they're just there to hang out, not looking to date. They are totally looking to date. So, I had involuntarily landed in a meetup. It's not the worst thing in the world. I'm trying to make the best of it. And then the organizer comes over and tells me that since I had not registered in advance to socialize with them, I probably wasn't even going to be able to hang glide. So when you're a pitiful little waitress from Louisiana, hanging around this farm, forcing yourself to make small talk with a bunch of DC young professionals who resent your presence can make for a very long day. But somehow the hours passed, and around 5 o'clock, finally, everybody in the group had gone up except for this one guy, but he was nowhere in sight. So I was allowed my turn. The instructor and I were strapped into this tandem harness, suspended parallel between two giant wings, and then we took off. When the foot plane cut the glider, we rode the wind, and I navigated with slight gestures. I had only to turn my head and lean to the right, and the glider would cut in that direction. He taught me how to pull the bar toward my chest to create an air pocket and then dive into a nosedive, free fall. So I left the whole sucky day on the ground behind me and was filled with peace and expanding generosity. And then suddenly, with motion sickness. Vertigo came on fast and mean. My muscles liquefied. And I told the instructor to take over while apologizing as many times as possible for what was about to happen. We became a two-headed fire-breathing dragon with a pale and chunky flame. And you guys remember the situation. We are 1 mile above the Earth's surface. This is him, this is me. It was terrible. And yet, incredibly, somehow, despite the unholy baptism that this man is receiving, he's actually pretty cool about the whole situation. Everything's fine, he says, wiping his face. The same thing happened when I took my mom out. When she got it out of her system, we were back in the nosedive. Okay, that sounded like a challenge. So, when my stomach settled a little bit, I told him to bring on the stunts, and I loved it, but by the time we landed, I was so sick that I could not hold my head up, so I collapsed. face first in the dirt, while I watched him wiping down the harness with a rag but no cleaning product. And then I saw the guy whose turn I had taken running toward us looking pissed. After all, he had registered for this event, and he wasn't about to miss his turn because I had the nerve to come crash the meetup. I tried to get out some kind of a warning as he rushed past, practically stepping over me, but he didn't have time for that. Screw you, I thought. Go hang glide and vomit for all I care. I want to go home.